What if you could improve your riding simply by going to sleep tonight? Seriously, what if your sleep tonight could actually improve your performance tomorrow? Did you know that your brain actually can't tell the difference between real practice and visualization? Visualizing your success is not just daydreaming, it's a form of deliberate practice. And I'm going to tell you about how I was able to successfully compete at preliminary off of only 2 jump lessons a month. And this is a story I have never shared before. So let's talk about how equestrians can use visualization to build confidence in the tack while sleeping. All right, guys, so welcome back to Team Fuego and the video series From Falling to Flying, where we're actually outlining the steps how to actually overcome a fall off your horse to fuel your next success, especially while jumping. We have been on a mental toughness journey with actual tips, tricks, and exercises that will directly lead you to overcoming your next challenge. And we're actually on video 4 out of 5. There are links down to the previous videos in the description below because we have done everything from testing our current mental control over our brains to understanding why smiling is scientifically proven to improve your results. Man, if you know, you know. I need to go find that video. This video is all about the power of visualization and how deliberate mental practice or rehearsal can strengthen your performance. This one tool alone from this video could be the difference between your next fail or your next success. Hey guys, so this is future Alyssa who is editing these videos right now. I did realize as I was going through them that there are a lot of tests and a lot of exercises and activities as I was creating these 5 videos. And so I actually created a website so that if you guys log in, I can give you a lot of free downloads and free workbook resources so that you can not only do the activities, but follow along and actually use these for success in the future. So back to your regularly scheduled programming. So as always, we're not just going to talk about it. We're actually going to use science-backed expertise and books to actually enhance our performance. So in this video, we're going to talk about peak. It's actually about the secrets of the new science of expertise by Anders Ericsson. I hope I said that right. Anyway, this book explores the science behind achieving extraordinary performance in any field. And for us, we're talking about sports. But for sports specifically, this book actually debunks the myth of natural talent and instead emphasizes the power of deliberate practice as the key to developing expertise in anything. You know, when I read it, it reminded me of the quote, "Hard work beats talent every day that talent doesn't work hard enough." And I've always really liked that quote because I think it's a lie a lot of people tell themselves because there's always someone that you're gonna watch where things just come more naturally to them, where you're maybe sitting there thinking like, gosh, why can't I get this? It's so easy for that person.
It's just very frustrating.
The hard part is, first off, you can't compare yourself to other people like that. That's kind of signing yourself up for failure in the first place. But one of the things about that is, say something comes naturally to someone, they may not work as hard at it because they're naturally inclined to have it be easier. And so in the moment you watch someone where you're like, why is it so easy for that person? Then know in that moment, if you work hard and put in the time and dedication, that you will eventually surpass that person, because if they don't work hard, even though they're naturally talented, they will not actually progress any further.
Don't you ever forget it.
And there's some key aspects from this book that we're going to go at from a high level, but I highly recommend you get the audiobook and listen to it on your next hack or when you're cleaning tack, you know, when you're giving your horse a bath or making grain bags, the endless chores we all have to do for horses. Just listen to it, because while you're doing mindless chores, you could actually be improving yourself as a rider mentally. So we're going to go over 5 key topics. The first one is deliberate practice. So Success isn't about mindless repetition. It's about focused and structured training that pushes you out of your comfort zone. Remember that the next time your horse trainer tells you to do something and you go, ooh, I don't want to. Honestly, the only way to get better at things is to try things that you're either not good at or that you've never done before. So setting clear goals, taking those actions, and getting immediate feedback from those actions, whether good or bad, helps you refine your techniques, and it is the key to steady improvement along the way. Because honestly, we can only get better one step at a time. And like I shared about that study with the basketball players in, I think it was video 3, mental rehearsal is a form of deliberate practice. And so by even visualizing you being successful, you can actually get incredible gains equal to those of physical practice. I highly recommend you check out that video because that study that I broke down for you blew my mind when I first heard about it. So the next key topic that this book covers is mental representations. With years of practice, experts develop mental models that help them make quick decisions, anticipate challenges, and execute with precision. And these representations are actually built through their deliberate practice, and they're the secret to elite athletes performing at the highest level because they already have proven strategies for navigating those challenges. And that's why they can go into a dicey situation and come out a lot better than, say, me who fell off and got a black eye, right? I'm working on it. But the reason I made this video series, and I dive into that in video 1, is because if I didn't have these mental practices, then that I just do by nature because I've been practicing this for literally decades, the reality is that the only way to go from a fall to a win, which is what my horse and I did, is through the mental game. It's winning the mental game. It's not necessarily winning in the tack, because in that 6 weeks between the time I fell and the time I won, I mean, I did get better. It's not like I didn't practice, but there was no first I was a zebra and then I became an elephant. Like, there is no transition. It's just the winning the mental game when you have things like falls from jumping where you have to then overcome, a setback. But the next part that this book covers is exactly what we're talking about here, which is debunking the myth about talent. Because talent is not the main ingredient for expertise. Quality practice is. And while genetics may provide a foundation, hard work is what separates the average from the extraordinary. And it actually reminded me of a quote from Michael Jordan, because there was a parent whose kid was playing basketball and they asked Michael Jordan, how does my kid become the best basketball player on the earth? Which, for the record, since he was probably the best basketball player, that's kind of how does he dethrone you? It's kind of a silly question. But the answer he gave was very insightful for this in particular, because he said, fall in love with the game. And that's one of the things we actually talked about in video 2, the 7-step process from making your setbacks your comebacks, is the idea of loving what you're doing, loving the practice, loving the progress is one of the key steps to actually improving and leading eventually to success. And so talent, while everybody thinks you need to be talented, you actually don't. You need to be dedicated. And that is basically what this book does. It completely debunks the myth of talent. And the next time you see somebody next to you who has it easier than you, know that's not just going to play out the way that your brain is assuming it's going to play out. Whoever is dedicated and whoever focuses and whoever does deliberate practice is going to be the one who succeeds at the end of the day, whether it starts out easy or not. So the fourth thing that Peak really dives into is endless improvement. Now, of course, we are all clay waiting to be molded, and we are molded along the way of life. Every experience we have grows and develops us. And so it does not matter how good you get at your sport. There's always going to be room for improvement and room to grow. So the best performers, the best athletes, the elite athletes, continue to refine their skills, and they break boundaries that 5-star level riders have. They continue to break boundaries and even impress themselves with always striving for excellence. But honestly, we are all our own worst enemy. And if you're able to actually break the internal boundaries that you place upon yourself, you're going to be miles ahead of everybody that, for one, hasn't read the book, or 2, hasn't seen this video. And the 5th thing that Peak really covers is the idea of universal principles. And the power of deliberate practice does not just apply to your sport. It applies to every field, from sports to music, to different types of sports, to school, to work, to driving, all of it. Techniques like visualization and mental practice aren't just for experts. They are tools anyone can use to achieve their best results. So, speaking of visualization, you may have heard in the intro that I used to compete at the preliminary level with only 2 jump lessons a month.
That's crazy.
Now, this was back when I was like 18 or 19, and I was financially on my own, and I honestly I couldn't afford more lessons than 2 a month. But what I didn't know at the time is that my solution to my insomnia was actually making me practice jumping so many more times, and I just didn't know it. And I've actually never told this story, not even to my horse trainer. So the fact this story is why I didn't die competing at prelim with only 2 jump lessons a month, which I don't recommend, by the way. I don't recommend this story, but the end result of the story is actually quite impactful. To start off, I actually have insomnia. So for those of you listening that have it too, oh man, I feel you. Sleep's apparently like one of the most important health benefits because you literally heal while you sleep. And the universe gave me many abilities, but that is not one of them. But back in the day, what I used to do at night is I would replay my jump rounds as I was falling asleep, kind of how, like people say, like count sheep, right? So I would replay the jump rounds over and over and over again in my mind as I would fall asleep. I would imagine the entire round. Obviously, I would have my eyes closed because I'm trying to go to sleep. I would replay it over and over again. And it's to the point where I actually have a few jump rounds in my head from over the years that happened like literally 5 years ago that I can picture them in my mind like they happened yesterday, because I still to this day will use them to fall asleep because insomnia is not like curable. But eventually, the way this story goes, my horse trainer, sat me down and was like, it's really impressive how successful you've been without practicing, but you have to jump at least once a week if you want to continue to go prelim, which has been my new standard ever since. But the truth remains that while I physically jumped less than anyone else at that barn, I probably jumped more fences in total if we add in my mental practice than anyone, because how many times I replayed those jump rounds in my head over and over and over again every night before I went to sleep. More importantly, how do you do this for yourself? And there's a few steps to this, right? So the first thing I want you to do is I want you to find a jump round that you're particularly proud of. If you don't have a video to watch, then you will just start in your mind. Find the video. I want you to pause this video, and then I want you to first watch the video with your eyes open, and I'll wait.
1 hour later.
All right, you got it? Okay. So the next thing I want you to do is now I want you to close your eyes and play that video in your mind. And pause the video and do this again right now. I mean, except if you're driving or something, like nobody died. But I know for a fact that if you don't take action when you learn new things, then it just becomes a thought instead of a memory. So you pause the video. At this point, you've watched it with your eyes open and you've watched it with your eyes closed. So now, before you go to bed tonight or before the night before your next jump lesson, I want you to do this exercise again. And I want you to see how it works. Side note, if you have a link to your video, like say you ordered a professional video and this is the video that you chose, link it down below because I will watch them all. And then If you actually do this exercise, I want you to come back to this video and comment under your own video what happened after you did this exercise. I honestly believe if you play this round in your mind multiple times before you go to sleep, just play it on repeat, feel it, feel coming around the turn, feel squaring up to the fence, see yourself getting the right distance, feel yourself actually leaning into jumping position and going over the fence, and then do your entire ride. Make your round so clear that you can actually feel it, not just see it in your mind's eye.
Oh my God, what a brilliant idea.
So here's how I've refined this method like more recently, because I actually visualize more than just horse stuff before I go to sleep now. This is a very powerful tool and you can use it for anything, success in anything. My visualization practice now when it comes to competing is the night before cross country. I mentally ride my cross country course as many times as it takes for me to fall asleep, which unfortunately is a lot. Now, some of you might be thinking like, wait a second, she fell off on that one round, so this doesn't work. Which, I mean, I get why you would think that. However, visualization is not going to stop you from making mistakes. It will definitely help build your confidence. So when you're leaving that start box, you get to leave that start box with the confidence and feeling like you've already ridden the course, because as I said in the beginning, it's actually true that your brain really doesn't know the difference between things that you have done physically and things you've done mentally, which is why I was able to successfully compete at prelim only jumping 2 times a month. And that's actually, if we add in my mental practice, that's actually inaccurate. I jumped every day in my head. You know, I proved in my young and dumb phase where I didn't know that that was crazy.
Sometimes may be good, sometimes may be shit.
Well, I couldn't afford to care about it. Let's put it that way. Okay, so here's what I want you to do. Before you go to bed tonight or before your next jump lesson, do this exercise. And once you've seen the good results, then you're going to continue this practice, because I also highly recommend that you practice this at horse shows. It's another great tool for if you forget your dressage tests. This is another great tool for remembering your dressage tests. If you rehearse your dressage tests before you ride them, then you have an infinitely higher chance of not forgetting your dressage tests. There is somebody at my barn, if you're watching this video, you know who you are. You always forget your dressage tests. Do this before you go to sleep. Learn your dressage test before you go to sleep. Mentally rehearse doing your dressage test. And I honestly know for a fact it's not age. It's not, whatever excuse anybody has in their head. It's not about that. It's about not knowing. And it's the confidence in what you know. But since this video series is really about falling off while jumping, this is really about the next time you leave the start box and your confidence in the fact that you know you've already ridden that ride. You just need to do it again. You've ridden it in your head, now you just got to ride it in real life. But after you've penned a few chapters in your equestrian book, you're gonna build up resiliency and perseverance. So you're really not gonna wanna miss the next video where we tie all of this together. You could either use these videos one of two ways. One, I could, say all this fun, awesome stuff and make you feel good about it. Or you can take these methods and you can apply them to your own riding and your own life and actually see real results from them. Click on the video around here because you won't want to miss how we tie all of this together to ensure that your next setback becomes your biggest comeback yet. But before you go, pause this video and link your ride down below. I can't wait to watch them all, and I will see you on the next one.